Officers and members of the rank and file of the St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And thank you for having me. Now I have a confession to make. I know very little about policing. So I'm not sure why I was invited to address police. But I do have a strong commitment to hardening the financial system against crime. Because I fundamentally believe crime must not pay. And too often, unfortunately, crime does pay. So I have a lifelong commitment in my capacity as governor of the central bank to support you and the police forces across the OECS, ECCU, in the fight against crime, and particularly in respect of hardening the financial system against crime. Because that's a key part of fighting crime. But before I continue, let me say, purely as a resident of the Federation, I am deeply grateful for your efforts to make this Federation a safer place to live. And I want to highly commend you for your work over the last 2 years in particular. Public service is often thankless business, and we heard from the sister a while ago, the sergeant. But I do want to let you know, speaking personally, but also as governor of the central bank, we do appreciate the efforts that you have made and are making to make this federation safer. It is good for family life, it is good for business life, and it's good for tourist life. And those are critical for the success of this country and for delivering shared prosperity for citizens and residents here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and indeed across the currency union. So thank you again. But notwithstanding my lack of knowledge about policing, I do know a little, just a little, about people. And that I've acquired over my 2 decades plus work as a senior public servant. And so this morning, if you will, I want to address you as one public servant to another, because police officers are public servants. I am a public servant. That's what I've done for the last 26 years of my life in various capacities. And therefore, what I'm going to offer you, and I only have 5 slides, so it's not a presentation, I just want to highlight a couple of things, are some suggestions, in fact, 3 suggestions, which I believe may be of utility to you as you contemplate this new year and this new decade. Because this new decade affords you new opportunities. And the question is, how shall you now live? And how shall you now proceed? And that is the context in which I want to offer you 3 suggestions. And suggestions being what they are, you may take them or you may leave them. But I hope some of us would be smart enough to seriously consider them. And I believe if you do, both individually as well as collectively, the force will scale new heights in 2020 and beyond. So my first suggestion is simply this: adopt a growth mindset. Adopt a growth mindset. It is said it is not how good you are, it is how good you want to be. How good you want to be. You see, 2019 is now history. And 2020 is before us. And what lies before the force are opportunities. Yes, challenges, but opportunities. And whether or not you are able to take the force to new heights and to make this federation even safer will depend on whether or not you have a growth mindset. The concept of a growth mindset was coined by, I believe, Dr. Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist. And she's done extensive work on a growth mindset. And you can Google it at any time and you can learn upon it if you wish. But a growth mindset is a tendency to believe you can grow, you can learn, and you can get better. And that's important because in contrast, there are some people who have a fixed mindset. In their minds, they have what God has given them, and they can do no better. That is who I am. That is how I stop. Or as you might say, so I be, in local parlance. That mindset then creates a cap, a ceiling on your potential to grow and to achieve new heights in your profession. And depending on the situation, people sometimes move between fixed and growth. And some people, when they see a challenge, they simply cannot respond to it. So as the force seeks new heights in 2020, the mindset of the force will either propel it or prevent it from attaining even higher levels of success. So let me break this down very quickly by illustrating, demonstrating, if you will, the differences between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And then you'll tell me, what do you now have? And based on what you have, whether you need to make a change. Touch your neighbor and say, sometimes we need to make a change. So, take a look at this. A fixed mindset avoids challenges. Because every challenge is a problem. And some of us don't like problems. A growth mindset embraces challenges and sees them as opportunities. You see, there's a reframing that's going on there. You see it as opportunities. A fixed mindset gives up easily, gets easily discouraged. Whereas a growth mindset perseveres even in the face of obstacles. A fixed mindset sees efforts as futile. Same old, same old. Nothing can change. Nothing can change. Nothing will change. Whereas a growth mindset recognizes that the challenges is in fact a path, present a path to success. So you see the journey. You see the journey and you embrace the journey. A fixed mindset avoids and ignores criticism. A growth mindset learns from criticism. And let me say this before I move on. Because that is how I've lived my life for the last 20 odd years, 25, 26 years in public service. Criticisms will come. It's the nature of the business that we're in, public service. In fact, it's the nature of life. So expect criticism. When you are faced with criticism, here's what you may wish to do. And I will tell you, here's what I do. I have two buckets. Truth or trash. They're going to fall in one of these two. If it's truth, I accept it, hard as it may be. And I try to find the kernel of truth. Even though I may not like the messenger who is delivering that truth. I try to find the kernel of truth so that I could get better. So that I could improve. So that I could learn. But if it is trash, I dump it and I move on and I don't look back. Because I'm not going to spend my energy looking at negativity, slander, libel, falsehoods, fake news, all manner of things. Yes, I know you have to respond to some fake news to make sure everybody knows what's going on. But the truth is, don't find yourselves so bogged down with these falsehoods and this trash, as I like to term it, that you lose focus from the main thing. Because I always say, everybody has to know what their calling is in life. Some of us are called to build, And some of us apparently are called to break down, to destroy. So when you're doing that business of destruction, I have to make sure I'm in the business of construction. I am not going to be carried away or diverted or distracted by your shenanigans. You will do what you have to do, because ultimately, we're going to answer to our God. And I need to make sure when I answer to my God and he asks me, what did I do with my time on earth? I have something good and sensible to offer. So everybody has to decide. Truth or trash. Don't get bent into out of shape and get all boxed up and tied up, and because it typically means when you find yourself there, you are not focused on the job. You're losing focus and you're losing impact. A fixed mindset feels threatened by others, the success of others. Whereas a growth mindset celebrates the success of others and learns from them. Not, I don't like how this person look or what happened to them or where they're going. Not that they're too young and they're moving too fast. By the way, I've been through that. The first time when I was appointed PS Finance, 1999, a headline ran in a newspaper, rookie economist appointed to lead the Ministry of Finance. A colleague in the Ministry of Finance then came to me and he said to me, all right. He said, how old are you? He said, I think this work too big for you. But I was glad he spoke to me honestly, and I did not hold that against him. And years later, he came back to me and said, I had my doubts, but you've proven yourself to be a man for this job. So, depending on where you are, people will want to put you down. People will want to shunt you down. You have to understand who you are, and notwithstanding what is said or not said, persevere. But the growth mindset embraces and celebrates with others. You want to see people do well. You take joy in seeing a brother or sister do well. And maybe your turn hasn't come, but hold on, your turn will come. We hope. Rather than being all resentful and pitiful because you haven't been given an opportunity. You have not been recognized. You have not yet had your great moment of success. And finally, with a fixed mindset, that person is stagnant and often enters a downward spiral of negativity, mediocrity, and even non-performance. You see, what happens in those instances is that they begin to exude negative vibes, negative energy. And you cannot grow with negative energy. You need positive energy. In fact, to do anything significant in life, you need energy. And you need positive energy. In contrast, the growth mindset is growing and enters an upward spiral of even higher levels of performance. So I want to challenge you, both as a force but as individuals as well, to adopt this year and going forward a growth mindset. That means, for example, you have to learn from your failings. Somebody in this force has to have, somebody and somewhere, a repository of all your learnings. And you need to see learnings, failures, not as failures, experiences, but as learnings. How do you get better? You know what happens very often with organizations? When there is no attempt to formally document their learnings, they keep repeating the same mistakes. And that demoralizes everybody. So adopt a growth attitude, a growth mindset by putting your learnings together and making them available to all members of the force. I also want to say to you, people with a growth mindset have a strong sense of purpose. And I want to encourage the force, and listen to me very carefully now, to reward smart actions, not smart people. Oh, that might sound a little controversial, but I'm going there now. to reward smart actions, not smart people. Have you ever seen a smart person who is lazy, lying, and manipulative? Oh, you had to have seen that if you've been in public service for any length of time. Watch their actions, not their words. Because we are judged by our actions, not our words. Reward smart actions. If the people claim they're smart, then their actions ought to be smart. But that is what you're going to have to watch and assess and reward. Their actions, not their words. It's very important. Sometimes people get so caught up in the nice talk that they could almost fool God. So in making this point, I want to say that the force must reward hard work, not just skills and certification. Now, it's important to have skills and certification. I want to be very clear. And I want to encourage those of you who are pursuing certification and pursuing upgrading yourself in terms of your skills to continue to do that. And I want to encourage the force to create incentives and to reward you for that. But when you are finished, you have to bring value to the force. If you are bringing no value, you ought not to be rewarded simply because you have additional qualifications. I'm absolutely serious about that. Because I have seen in my public service life, people who on acquisition of qualification now feel a sense of entitlement so that they don't have to work anymore. The hard work was to get the degree or to get the skill, not to deliver service and results for the force or for the service. Do not be fooled by that. Get your certification, get your skills, but you have to deliver results. You have to continue to work hard. This is hard work business. If you don't want to be in policing, if you don't like hard work, you can't be in policing. Seriously. Seriously. So I want you to be very mindful with a growth mindset. Watch their actions, not their words. I think I may have registered with you on that one. Let's move on. I only have 3 suggestions and then I'm going to sit. The second suggestion is this. Become a better listener. Become a better listener. Become a better listener to your family, to your community, and to your God. Now, listening is the least practice of the 4 communication skills. And yes, there are 4 communication skills. Do you remember what they are? So let's go through very quickly. There is writing, reading, speaking, and listening. Correct. Most studies show that 75% of the world's population does not listen well. Let's flip that. It means that only 1 in 4 persons is a good listener. Now put up your hand, let me see if you're a good listener. I don't think you're listening to me. I'm just kidding. You know, so what is listening? My wife of almost 23 years, March will be 23 years, a long time ago taught me what is listening. She said, listening is wanting to hear. Very simply. Listening is wanting to hear. You see, the purpose of listening are twofold. 1, to connect with people, and 2, to learn. And in community policing, which is key to detection of crime, you have to become even better listeners. You see, the challenge with listening is that most of us, as Stevie Covey says in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Habit 5, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Let's think about that. So the story is told of Franklin Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. who often enjoyed long greeting lines at the White House. And the president grew tired of people, all the small talk. And he complained that most people did not listen to what he had to say. So one day during a reception, he decided to run an experiment. As each guest arrived and shook the president's hand, he smiled politely and said pleasantly, "I murdered my grandmother this morning." Oh, you didn't hear me. "I murdered my grandmother this morning." The guest responded like this: "Marvelous, Mr. President. Keep up the good work. We are proud of you. God bless you, sir." It was only until near the end of the line that an ambassador who was a good listener heard what the president had really said. The ambassador quickly collected himself and he leaned forward near the president and said, "I'm sure she had it coming to her." No, I'm not condoning any violence or any crime. This is a story with a lesson. And the point is that most of us do not listen well. And that was the example that the president found in his little experiment. Let me say this before I move on. In leadership, the comments will come. But recognize one thing. Feedback is a gift. Hello? Feedback is a gift. We may not always like the gift, but it is a gift. And so, very important, at any level of the force, at any level, high command or the entry level, you need to have a growth mindset when it comes to feedback. See it as a gift. And if you do, people will come to you and share things with you which will make you better because you want to learn, you want to grow, you want to get better. You know, at the ECCB, one of the things we have in our star mantra is something called, and it's a work in progress, truth telling. So the star mantra at the ECCB is, S means service excellence, and we share that, we public servants. T stands for teamwork and truth telling. A stands for accountability, and R stands for results. That's our star mantra. And we added truth telling about a year. So on the first day I arrived, I gave them the star mantra. First day in office. But then a year later, we added truth telling as a second in the T. Well, it's one T, but the second. So teamwork and truth telling. Because we wanted to encourage people to speak truth to power. We wanted to give people the permission to be open with their views while being respectful. And that's the difference. Because you can deliver truth, but if you deliver truth with no grace, that's a problem. As one person put it, right plus rude equals wrong. Some of us will say, that's who I am. So I stop. I tell them as I see it. I'm a straight shooter. Well, in corporate life, you have to know how to deliver the message. Deliver it truthfully, but with respect, with grace. And you're going to find that more often than not, as you do that, people will listen to you more. But some of you get very frustrated when you have ideas or you have suggestions and you're not getting through. Well, I want to say to the person who is above you, your reporting officer, you need to understand feedback is a gift and allow and encourage that feedback. But I also want to say to you who might be delivering the feedback, watch your tongue and watch your tone. Because very often that is where it breaks down. That is where it breaks down. And at that point, they are not listening to you. It doesn't matter what you're saying and how good it is. They have made a decision that you're rude and out of place, you're out of order, and they're not taking you on. So you need to understand that and just recalibrate how you say what you say. You can still be truthful, you can still give the feedback, but the tone is important. The tone is important. Become a better listener. You will learn more. Your family will thank you for it. Your girlfriend will thank you for it. Your partner will thank you for it. And the force and the community will thank you for it. Adopt a growth mindset. Become a better listener. And I have one more and I'm going to stop. And the third one is this: bloom wherever you are planted. Bloom wherever you are planted. Assigned. Deployed. Now this is very important, especially for rank and file. Because the nature of policing is that you will move around from time to time. You have to gain experience and to gain exposure. And those of you who find yourself out in the outstation, in the rural areas, that's a very important part of your development. And don't underestimate that vineyard, that period in the vineyard. What you might find is seemingly almost behind God's back. Don't underestimate that experience. It allows you to understand people, build your relationships and network with the community, and it is these same people who will turn around and have your back as you rise up the organization. If you made a good impression while you were serving in the outstations. Don't, as the scripture says, despise the day of small beginnings. Some of you want to reach in high command, but you have to get through before you have to go through to get through. Yes? I want to see people move up, but understand the journey. The growth mindset understands the journey and embraces the learnings. And when you get to a higher position, you bring not just, experience, but you bring skills, you bring perspectives, and you bring a network of people who you can tap in this business of policing. Because the community relations are key to making an effective police and to have a great force. So that police officers ought to demonstrate professionalism at all times. And to that end, I invite you to recall one of my life verses. This verse has really guided me throughout my life. Colossians 3:23. Many of you know it. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Let me repeat. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. I cannot tell you how much I have relied on this verse as I have worked with different administrations over my time as a public servant. Because of my specialist area, I've always been in the Ministry of Finance. But I've worked with different administrations, including 3 different finance ministers. And after a change of government, I was able to work with administrations because I understood that the real boss was not the finance minister or the prime minister, but the real boss was the Most High God, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. That perspective makes a huge difference to how you perform and the professionalism you bring in spite of who you serve, whether you voted for a particular party or not. Folks, we have to be very serious now. If the force is overly politicized, it compromises your work and your worth. You have to be able to work with all peoples, all administrations across time and place, while retaining your right to exercise your franchise when the time comes. Never let it be said that this is my government, so I'm working hard, and this is not my government, so I'm not working hard. The people who pay you are the taxpayers, citizens, and residents of this country. That is who your ultimate loyalty has to be. And then I will take it one step higher. As a man of faith, your ultimate loyalty is to God. Get that straight, and it will serve you well, whoever and wherever you find yourself. What is the suggestion? Bloom where you are planted. Many of you are people of faith, and you know of the story of Joseph in the Bible. Falsely accused, thrown into prison, ultimately rose to become the prime minister of Egypt, from the pit to the palace. So here is the question. What does Joseph Tillman Thomas, former prime minister of Grenada, and Nelson Mandela have in common? What do those three men have in common? No. That's true, but that's not what I'm looking for. You know what they had in common? You know? They all had unwanted transfers. They all ended up in jail. Yes. Yes. They did. All had unwanted transfers. But you know what? They did not become bitter. They became better. They understood the power of forgiveness. And they understood what Corrie ten Boom, a Holocaust survivor, once said. Forgiveness is releasing a prisoner and then realizing the prisoner is me. Forgiveness is releasing a prisoner and then realizing the prisoner is me. Or as Archibald Hart put it, forgiveness is surrendering my right to hurt you for hurting me. Oh, I'm not sure who I'm speaking to this morning. But first and foremost, we are citizens, we are individuals. And these thoughts should guide us and help us in life, in living, and in serving in the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. All three gentlemen rose to become either the Prime Minister or President of their country. But they had an unwanted transfer. They all were incarcerated and spent time in jail. I believe Mandela spent close to 29 years, if I recall. 27, thanks. So, let me conclude by saying 3 suggestions. Some of you look very, very serious now. That's okay, because I want you to be thoughtful. I want to motivate you and encourage you, but it starts with a deep reflection, as Commissioner reminded us at the top, and then a move to action. 3 suggestions. Summary. 1. Summary. Adopt a growth mindset. 2. Become a better listener. And 3. Bloom wherever you are planted. I want to suggest to you, in fact, I know of which I speak. Were you to take these suggestions on board, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force will scale even higher heights in 2020 and beyond. And you deliver the kind of service that the people of this federation desire and deserve. God bless you in your efforts. I stand with you. Thank you very much. God bless.